Okay, so guys, before we get started with today's episode, let me give you a brief overview what Pathmonk is all about before we jumping into the show. Pathmonk is the intelligent tool for website lead generation. With increasing online competition, more than 98% of all website visitors usually do not convert. So your ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in their buying journey separates you from the competition. So Pathmonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where people are in the buyer's journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences, like case studies, introductional videos, and much more. So stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by plus 50%. Add Pathmonk to your page in seconds. Let the artificial intelligence do all the work and get access to 50% more qualified leads while you keep the marketing the same as always. Check it out on pathmonk.com. In today's episode of the Pathmonk Presents podcast, I got a very interesting guest with me here today. I'm with Chris Longano, who's hailing over from Sureti. And today we want to really deep dive into how they accelerate the flow of claim proceeds and essentially how people can benefit from the platform. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Of course. Yeah. Maybe tell us more about how you're moving the sort of, that busy work from payment processes. Who do you help and how do you help them best?
Yeah, so Sureti exists predominantly in the property insurance space here in the North America, so US and Canada predominantly. And we exist really for the purpose of just trying to make sure contractors are getting the money from those claim proceeds so that they can perform their job functions a little more quickly. So without going into a ton of detail, there are mainly four entities involved right now in the property claim process. There's the insurance carrier, you have your business owner or homeowner, you have your contractor, and you have your bank or lender that may have a lien or some level of ownership on that property. And all four of those parties want something to do with those lost proceeds, and it's not always the same goal in mind. So the insurance industry for the last 150 years or so has been trying to solve the problem the same way again, for the last 150 years, which is trying to include the bank. So Sureti exists to try and remove that bank from the process, work on behalf of the policyholder, carrier, and bank's best interests, and float the funds out to the contractors so that they can perform their work in a quicker manner, trusting that the money will be there for them when they need it.
Very good. Now, who would benefit most? Like if you would explain sort of a little bit more about the persona or the people that really benefit most and what kind of organizations fit best?
In terms of who we ask to sign our agreements, or who of those four entities sort of gets the
basically
sure.
Who would be onboarding into the product and who sees the most benefit essentially?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. And for the maybe first time in my career, I get to sell something that affects all four entities equally valuable. But let's start with the carrier. So right now, the insurance carrier will cut a check often to the property owner. And because of the bank's involvement, can often delay the funds getting to the contractor by sometimes up to 4 or 5 months if a claim is big enough, right? So for a carrier, especially in a large enough loss, they're paying a pretty good amount in two kinds of claims expenses called additional living expense or business interruption in order to keep that homeowner, say, in a hotel, right, while the house is being restored, or the business owner, they're basically paying for the revenue that they're not able to collect because they can't be in their business. That can absolutely balloon for an insurance carrier. So working with Sureti can help them reduce those costs by a pretty good clip. Right now, we have it estimated at about 24%, but we're quickly gathering data to hopefully validate or potentially even increase that stat.
Mm-hmm.
The homeowner, everything sort of relates to time. So for the homeowner, business owner, if we're able to reduce 2 to 3 months worth of waiting for funds for a bank to release it, they're going to be back in their home, back in their business much quicker, which is ideal for them. The bank's real main concern is that property gets restored to a pre-loss condition, right? That's what they care about, is that their asset is restored and that nobody's running away with funds. So Sureti acts somewhat like a fiduciary here in that we're protecting those funds and making sure nothing illicit or nefarious happens with them. And then finally, the contractor really just wants to perform their job, right? That's their revenue, that's their income. And the longer they have to wait for it, the less work they actually do. So by getting them funds quicker, they tend to perform work quicker, and they could do more jobs throughout the year.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. Now, how do these four different sort of, players, how do they get to know about Surety? Like, who discovers you guys? Who brings it to the table? Like, how is that, process?
That is the billion-dollar question that we're actively trying to solve for here at Surety this year. So in the past, we've kind of gone after the contractor market, and we've built a pretty decent brand, I would say, within the contractors. So they know who we are, they know what we're trying to achieve, and at least to my knowledge, they're very supportive of what we're trying to accomplish. Where we lack some notoriety is really on the insurance carrier side, the banks and the bank side, which would be the next two places for us to try and get information out. So I actually come mostly from a sales background versus a marketing background. So maybe it's a little bit of boots on the ground, but the best way I know to get the word out is to start attending a lot of industry conferences and just trying to get as many meetings as you can. Once you get there, word of mouth does very much exist, at least in our industry, as I imagine does in others. So it's a slow but steady process of just having the right conversations with the right people. And if you can be there in person, I think the impact is just much greater. But we're right now actively seeking ways to try and get more of a brand awareness into the insurance carrier space.
Very cool. Now, what would you say is the journey then? I mean, you mentioned the events. If we talk about the contractor space, how would you describe the journey? How do they get to know Surety? Like, do they find you guys online? Do you guys meet them up? Like, what's the typical, I would say, steps they would go through?
Yeah, so it's either, again, word of mouth is still one of the strongest ways we'll get referrals to business. We do a lot of publications in restoration contractor magazines like CNR. For example, is a good friend of Surety, and we try to put as much as we can in there to let them know. Conferences are another big way, and then just leveraging the networks we have, right, and putting out e-blasts or informational packets to contractors, letting them know what we're doing and how we benefit them.
Very cool. Now, let's switch gears a little bit. I mean, how do you think about the website? Like, what role do you feel the website plays in that, maybe even network market, you should already pretty much say, with the carriers, property owners, lenders, and contractors? Like, how do you think about the website?
I think websites are both tremendously important and sometimes overstated in their importance. So it's a bit of a catch-22 in my mind. But I think no matter what, even if I can have a great conversation with somebody for the first time in a meeting, the first thing they're going to do is go to our website, and they're going to make some level of emotional decision-making based on the content we have out there. So it's more important than I'd like it to be. But it's something that I think all companies need to dedicate a lot of energy into making sure it's lovable, to be honest, right? So not just information, but that I can go there and, this sounds silly, but enjoy being on that website, right? I can enjoy the look and the feel of it, and I can scroll through it, because having that emotional connection to something as intangible as a website, I think, can absolutely help in your brand awareness.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Now, what would you personally think, as think about growth for organization? What's sort of the strength of the page versus where do you see room for further development and improvement?
In our specific page?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think some of the things we've done really well is our graphic design and our look and feel. I think and would hope users would experience kind of a very loose and modern feel to the website. And I think we do a great job with a lot of the graphics and keeping it sort of clean and modern looking. We've also done, one of the things that benefits me as a salesperson is I don't feel like I need to go out and create brochures or any kind of sales material, because I feel we do a good job of condensing that information into our website. So when I'm asked for additional info, it's very easy for me to point someone to our website and say, anything I would send you is here already. So I think that's a strength to it. Where could we do better? Man, there's a lot of text on our website. So I would love to cull through that and really see if we can't refine our content much better as we learn things from the sales angle, as we learn things from how our users experience the website, what's valuable to them, what's getting them to click through or spend more time on a page. I don't think we have a firm understanding of that just yet, and I think we could do a lot better in our messaging. but it's an iterative process. I don't think any website is ever 100% perfect. It's going to change every 6 to 12 months, I would say.
Very cool. Now, let's switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit more about sort of your daily operations. Like, what would you be focused on, and what other streams of work that somebody in your role would perform on a sort of a daily basis?
Yeah, so being the CRO here, I, as I'm sure a lot of your audience does, wear multiple hats, right? So from a marketing standpoint, we're really spending a lot of energy right now in figuring out a stronger strategy. So I think we've gotten to where we are through some good content creation and very creative ways of approaching it. But I don't know if we've had the right alignment in what we're trying to achieve, right? Is it getting conversions on the website? Is it getting more followers on LinkedIn? Like, I think right now we're spending a lot of our energies trying to create a real plan forward and a strategy around what our efforts look like. Mm-hmm. I would say I spend the majority of my time more wearing my sales hat, though. So going out and trying to create interest, convert leads into opportunities, and then walk people through the process. What we're doing is fairly new for the industry. It's not something anyone's ever solved before. And so there's a huge educational component to the sales process that can sometimes, unfortunately for me, take a little more time.
Very good. Now, as we're slowly approaching the end of the interview, we'd have some rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
Sure. Let's do it.
Very good. What would be the last book or the last podcast you've been consuming? So we're listening to, reading to. What was sort of the one that you would be recommending?
Yeah, it may not be what your listeners normally go out to. So I have a few passions, one of which is music. I was actually a music major going back to my college days. So I've recently come across a podcast about The Band, a group called The Band, and their history, and I've found it to be very enjoyable. That, along with one called Life on Record, where they'll interview the musicians or the producers with albums and talk about the process. So I've been finding those really enjoyable in my spare time.
Very cool.
As far as books go, currently reading two. One is Radical Focus by an author I can't remember right now. And the other one is another passion of mine, which is rowing, crew, Olympic rowing, and it's called The Triumph of Amateurs. And it's basically about a period in American history where professional rowing was a real thing from about 1850 to the 1880s before they outlawed professional rowing.
Interesting. Very good. Just missed it by a couple of years.
I know. Pretty good. Just a few hundred.
Very good. Cool. What's the one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Driving revenue and driving new logos, new business acquisition.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what would be the one single thing that you would fix for your role as a marketer? You have a magic wand. What would you fix?
I don't know if tech is our holdup so much as spend. But the thing I would fix is brand recognition, right? If I could show up at a conference and people know who I am and what we do before I reach out to them, that would make my life 100 times easier.
Okay, very true. Very last question. If today would be your very first day with Sureti, so what would be the advice that you would give yourself for your journey?
Be patient. That you can't do everything you want to do in a month's time, and try to be patient, make decisions, and then iterate on those decisions.
Very, very cool, Chris. Really appreciate it. You took the time with us today to give us a brief overview of Sureti, what you guys are doing, who you're serving, types of customer you work with. But now I would like to maybe give people like a last thing to remember if they would forget anything else that we discussed about the company. What's the one thing people should remember?
The one thing people should remember about Sureti is that predominantly we're trying to solve something that hasn't really been solved before, and anyone willing to come along on that journey with us, I think will only be the net benefactor of those services in the long term, and can really lead the charge in their industry.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathmonk Presents.
All right. Thanks so much, Lucas.